This is the Sports Brawl, your weekly review of sports news, information, and entertainment with a feminine twist. I am your host, Angela Davis, and we have the hot topics. And today I am joined by a very special guest, the very hot, might I add, hot, LaMar Campbell. How are you?
Pleasure to be back, Angela. Yeah. It's been too long.
It's been way too long. Now, LaMar Campbell, if you don't know, is the Director of Media Relations for the NFL Players Association here in Atlanta, Georgia. And you are also a former NFL player.
Yes, I am.
Played for the Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions. Go Lions. Great draft this week, guys. Great draft.
Yeah, let's go right in. Let's start with the draft. So how do you think the Lions did?
I think we did well. Actually, my rookie year in 1998 was the last time we drafted a corner in the first round. So I thought secondary would be a need that we would address. But with the coming of New Orleans offensive coordinator, drafting of Eric Ebron, I think we have another weapon. I think we can definitely put up 35 a game. The key is going to be to make sure no one else scores 35.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes moving forward.
Yeah, so the draft was quite interesting.
Yes.
Certainly a lot of surprises, a lot of talk around that first round. Let's start with the first round. So, Jadeveon Clowney, certainly not a surprise.
Right.
Nobody was really sure what the Texans were going to do. Did you expect that?
I'm from the mindset that you take the best player available. So I thought that they would take that opportunity. You thought Johnny Manziel may have been on the board. Blake Bortles with the Bill O'Brien connection may have been on the board, but you don't pass up on the potential of Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, this is a guy that he comes once in a lifetime player. You have a J.J. Watt. You have a solid defense. He's just going to be able to make it better. So even if he doesn't come in and take the NFL by storm, you still have a solid defense. It was the Houston Texans offense that gave them problems last year.
Absolutely. And so with Johnny Manziel now with the Cleveland Browns, what do you think about his success and what that's going to look like for the Browns?
I think one of the things about Johnny Manziel, you have to buy in to what he is. And I think Ray Farmer, and congrats to Ray Farmer on his first draft.
Yeah.
I think he had a great draft. I used to be here with the Falcons as well. Played against him at Duke when I was in college. So Ray's come a long way. I think he had a great draft. I think he took a solid corner. I think when you get Johnny Manziel that late, you still get the guy that you want. I think it revitalizes the city. Cleveland's been looking for a hero. The Doghounds have been looking for someone to put some highlights up on the field. So I think you have Johnny Manziel, you have ticket sales.
Oh, absolutely.
But now the time has come for Johnny Manziel to produce in the NFL. And unfortunately, Josh Gordon may be lost for the year, so his biggest weapon he may not have. So they have to do some shuffling, and some wide receivers definitely have to step up. And the running game, of course, is going to be a rookie quarterback's best friend, and they have to get that established as well.
Absolutely. Now, there is always a talk about the first round versus the second round. And, you know, Nike put out an ad last week with Johnny Manziel that sort of said, hey, just because you don't go in the first round doesn't mean that you aren't a great player, that you can't, you know, be a phenomenal athlete or be, you know, a playmaker. I mean, look at Brady, right? Perfect example. So what about those players who sort of kind of fall to the wayside or sort of unnamed after the first round?
You know, I truly believe, and I've spent my first year out of Detroit, I was actually in the scouting department. And what I learned is you really build your team second through the seventh round. First round is a lot of hoopla, a lot of hype, but that's where you build your team, the second to the seventh round. And your undrafted free agents. You know, let's not forget Seattle just won a Super Bowl with 22 undrafted free agents on their roster. So you can find guys. You can definitely find guys late in round. I mean, that's when the GMs really earn their money. Second round to free agency, and I think we saw that. I think we saw a lot of guys come in and compete, and they're going to come in and compete. They want to compete. They want to be on that roster. They're upset they weren't first rounder. Richard Sherman, now the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. First thing he said is, there were still 22 guys drafted before me. So you take that with you as a player and motivate you. And we're going to see some guys that no one heard about this weekend be all pros in the next couple of years.
Wow. And so let's talk about that. Michael Sam, will he be a name that people talk about football and not about being the first openly gay NFL player?
You know, I think it's very huge. I think we're in a situation of tolerance now. I think it's huge to have a lesbian or a gay player in professional sports. But the scout in me and the football player in me, it's a great story. But the minute his phone rang, it didn't matter anymore. You're now St. Louis Ram. You are a football player. You are affecting the livelihood of those men in the locker room. We didn't care what you did before you were openly gay. If you came on the field and competed and took care of business, you were accepted. So Michael Sam, the story's over. The roller coaster's over. Great story. get to work.
Right.
It's time to earn your spot on the team, earn your shoulder pads, earn your helmet.
And we'll certainly be watching because, I mean, I think, and you're right, I think what happens, how things affect the team is paramount because it does reflect how the team produces on the field. And that can even be talked about in basketball, right? We've got this Donald Sterling issue, which is the hot topic in the NBA. Donald Sterling, as you know, we all know, he's been banned for life, $2.5 million fine from Adam Silver. And his wife has said that she wants to keep her 50% ownership, and she's actually fighting. Her attorney put out a statement. They're going to fight for her kind of being a passive owner. Meanwhile, players are saying, you know what, we don't want any Sterlings owning the Clippers. What do you think?
I think the players have a right. Unlike the NFL, the NBA is a player-dominated league. Like, the players make the calls a lot in the NBA. It's not the NFL and Roger Goodell where the shield runs everything. This is the NBA. So the players have a lot of say. LeBron has spoken out. The players have spoken out that they don't want to play for any Sterling. And I understand her position, but where was she in 2003? With the housing losses. Where was she in 2006? She was a part of this. She was still making money. And she knows if you marry this man, you know what kind of man he is. You knew he was a racist. You knew how he felt against African American and minorities. You are not maybe the problem, but you knew what was going on. So you were not an innocent bystander. You were an accomplice to all this going on while you were still getting those checks. And the players understand that. And all the NBA can do is force them out. It's her right to fight, but I don't think the LA Clippers will have a franchise if they move forward with a Sterling as an owner.
So it's almost like a lose-lose proposition, right? If she's allowed legally to keep the team, if the players don't play, if the sponsors don't participate on the business, then what does she have?
And she doesn't really have anything. And I think you look at it as a situation where she is going to be made whole financially. I mean, this is a team that's going to be bought for over $1 billion.
Oh, absolutely.
And so when you're separated from someone, and they weren't divorced, they were separated, so obviously she was still getting the privileges of being his wife. Unfortunately, you have to take the bad with the good. Is that what they say? You're married, the good with the bad, worse than
for better or for worse.
better or for worse. So you were still a part of this. You were
richer or for poor.
You were not divorced. You are a part of this. So unfortunately, your name will be drawn, and
so
I don't
Clippers
think she should be able to own the team at all.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I think that it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks, how the owners respond.
Well, the coming year.
Because
litigation is one of the great things about America is the endless appeal system. So that can go for a year, 2 years. You never know what might happen. So this is something that the owners have to sit down with her about and make her understand this is for the best of the NBA and the business themselves.
And I think the impact it's going to have in professional sports, period, right? Because this certainly is unprecedented, but I think people are now saying, okay, we've got owners in the NHL, we've got owners in the MLB,
it's a very
we've got owners
slope.
in the NFL, and what happens now?
It's a very slippery slope.
Because this not only crosses over boundaries about ownership and how the owners behave, but about privacy, about private conversations in this country, and all of those standards.
Well, so let me just say this. As a player, it's about time that we started holding the owners and front office accountable. Players have been held accountable for long. Players have been thrown under the bus for long, and sometimes deservingly. I mean, sometimes deservingly, but it's time to hold the owners and the front office to a higher responsibility. And I think it's only fair. I mean, we're in a situation now where they're going to fine African-American players for using the N-word this coming up season, 15-yard penalties.
That'll be interesting.
But we can't hold the front office and owners accountable. I mean, get real. It's only fair. Does it make it a slippery slope? Does it make it dangerous? Does it make it more of a workplace environment where you have to watch what you say? Yes, but the players have dealt with it, so now the owners and front office have to deal with it as well.
That's right, and we're talking about holding players accountable because we do know that players get in trouble, and when we come back, we're going to talk about how accusations affect players, their livelihoods, and ultimately their professional careers. Be right back.
Work at it now, hard work. Come on, push it. That's it.
For me, it's just always trying to stay above the curve and stay one step ahead of my competitors. When should I go?
As soon as they switch, that's when you got to catch and go. That's the time to take your opportunity.
Okay, we are back, and we were kind of talking about, if you don't know, this is LaMar Campbell. He is the former player with the Detroit Lions, and he is currently the Director of Media Relations for the NFL Players Association here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we've been talking all things NFL, the draft, Michael Sam. We were talking about the NBA and about holding, owners accountable because players do get in trouble and they have to be held accountable. And let's talk about that because sometimes players aren't really in trouble, but the accusation does a lot of damage. Yes. And so we can start with this Colin Kaepernick situation with this woman who comes to a house. There's 3 NFL players. They're getting high, allegedly getting high, drinking.
Allegedly.
She decides to, per the report, go into a bedroom. She gets naked, and she says she's not leaving. And then she says she's Jesus, and all these other things happen. But when the allegation first came out, it was that there was an incident. And so that raises red flags. And when you are a Colin Kaepernick, and even for the other 2 gentlemen involved, what does that do? Well,
you look at a Colin Kaepernick who's in the middle of a contract negotiation with the San Francisco 49ers. Probably couldn't happen at a worse time. The San Francisco 49ers stood behind him. But the good thing is that the tapes are now finally starting to come out. They did a smart thing. They dialed 911 and reported what had transpired. But the presumption is that immediately with that, okay, NFL players, women, they're immediately guilty.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, that's just the way of the land. That's the law of the land. When I go and speak to players, you're going to presume guilty before you're innocent if you're an NFL player. That's just the way it is. Deal with it. Try not to put yourself in that situation. Understand the backlash of it. I haven't seen Colin Kaepernick's beach commercial since that has happened.
That's right.
So look at what you have and what you can do in those situations. You can bounce back from it. The key is to stay the course. But the good thing is he played it smart. He has not been in the limelight.
Right.
You have not heard much about Colin Kaepernick. He waited till all the good things came out as far as his innocence. Now I think you'll start to see. So I think the team he has around him is
and
important.
He's even speaking out as the tapes get released. He's saying, hey, listen, I told you, I defended my character. I know the kind of man that I am, and these tapes seem to back up. They continue to back up his story.
And good for him that he has that tape, but all players are not going to have tape to back them up. So the key is try not to put yourself in those situations anytime that they become available to you. You know.
And I think sometimes this even starts before you even get to the professional level. So Jameis Winston in the news, crab legs, which have been the source of a lot of hilarity in social media and a lot of jokes. But it really is a serious situation. We have a young man who is 19 or 20 years old. He has won the Heisman. He's taken his team to a national championship. He is truly gifted athletically, playing both baseball and football for Florida. And then we have these sort of indiscretions, it
lapses
seems.
In judgment.
And what's going on with that?
It seems like a lapse in judgment. I give him some leeway because of the age. It's hard to take on that kind of responsibility. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan. I don't know if anyone else is.
Okay.
And when you're putting 16, 17-year-old kids on the on the throne, when they're now in charge of running things, when you have the Heisman, you're the face of this program, and you're still 19, 20 years old, you still have a lot of growing up to do. You just don't grow up immediately because you won a Heisman. You don't grow up immediately because you're the face of this program or this university. It takes time to learn to be responsible. It's a situation where he was, unfortunately, did something stupid, crab legs. And I'll say this as a college athlete, it's probably not the first time he's done something that could have been a big deal, but because he is Jameis Winston now, it is a big deal. So you have to be careful of those things. We saw it happen with Johnny Manziel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how do you think this will affect his career going forward? I mean, because he is, unless something detrimental happens to him physically, he probably will go pro.
Well, speaking to the people that I know in scouting departments, definitely a red flag, not because of this incident, because of course, the alleged rape incident, of course, as well, too. So you have some red flags up. But as they say in the NFL, and it's tried and true, is the talent going to overweigh the off-the-field things that he does. And when you have a situation with Jameis Winston, he has 2 years, maybe it's a wake-up call for him. Maybe it's not like, you know what? I am Jameis Winston. I am the Heisman Trophy winner. Maybe it's better for me to stay in the dorms and just chill. Now, that may not be his personality, but I'm sure the people around him are telling him that you are now a target. You're not the innocent kid that everyone loves with the great smile and the big personality. You are now a target now because of who you are, and you have to watch out for yourself the next couple of years.
And I think that goes without saying for all college athletes, be it the track for the NFL, the MLB, the NBA. It really is about making smart choices because those things reflect character. And now more than ever, in professional sports, these things are being called into question.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we look forward to seeing kind of what happens in the coming weeks, even with Jameis Winston, but definitely with the NFL rookies.
Yes,
and,
it's going to be a big week for these guys. These guys have to come in and earn their shoulder pads, and with the collective bargaining agreement now, these guys don't have a lot of padded practices now. So your opportunities to get on the field and show what you can do are going to be limited. So every practice is important for these guys.
Show and prove.
Yeah.
That's right. And Jersey Girls, it is May, and we are 2 weeks away from the Memorial Day holiday. And you know what that means? It's wear white season. So it's time to show and prove. You know what to do while you're wearing white. And if you want all the rules, you can check that out on our website and our style page at jerseygirlsports.com. We want to thank LaMar Campbell for being with us. A very good friend. Always a pleasure. Always giving good insight, good
Let's
information.
not make it so long the next time.
I know, you gotta come back. You gotta come back. And make sure you come back to us on our website, jerseygirlsports.com, and on our Facebook page, and on Instagram, and we're also on Twitter. This is the Sports Bra, Women, Sports, Lifestyle.